Now that we know a lot about the Wasteland thanks to Furiosa, what's next for the Mad Max franchise? Are we ever going to see Mad Max the Wasteland? Well, the guy who could answer that is George Miller. So let's dive into what he's had to say. But remember, we just got some disappointing news about the Mad Max Fury Road sequel from Tom Hardy. So let's dig into all the details. George Miller is a unique director who can pull an entire Mad Max universe out of his imagination, making fans eagerly wait years for the next chapter. His latest film, Furiosa: A Mad Max Saga, is out now. Even though it didn't do great at the box office, it's winning fans over with its stunning cinematography, rich mythos, and the adrenaline rush it delivers. Miller definitely has more stories to tell in this saga, and one of them is Mad Max: The Wasteland. This film would follow Max and a young mother as they journey through the vast wasteland, possibly tying back to the visions Max had in Mad Max Fury Road. In a recent chat with Josh Horowitz on the Happy Sad Confused podcast, Miller gave a glimpse into the concept. He mentioned, "It certainly has a lot of action in it, but it is also a saga," though he admits, "With The Wasteland, I'm still figuring out what to do with it." Miller added that he's waiting to see how Furiosa is received. If it all lines up, he's ready to move forward with The Wasteland. Director George Miller previously told Collider that he has a clear vision for the next chapter in the Mad Max franchise. He mentioned that the backstory for Mad Max Fury Road involved creating detailed histories for both Furiosa and Max. "We had to write the story of Furiosa and the 18 years before we meet her on Fury Road. We also needed to develop Max's story from the year before we see him in Fury Road. Nico Lathouris and I wrote that as a novella, and that's the story we need to tell." After the success of Mad Max Fury Road, it seemed like a given that the franchise would continue with sequels featuring the same cast. Instead, the franchise is taking a step back with a prequel focusing on Furiosa's origin story. While prequels and origin stories are common in movie franchises, it looks like Mad Max will focus more on events before Fury Road rather than exploring future possibilities for its main characters. Miller also revealed to EW that he and his team had already written out what happened to Max Rockatansky 1 year before Fury Road. These events are likely tied to Max's traumatic visions of his past and his famous line, "I am the one that runs from both the living and the dead." With these details already in place, Miller hopes to delve into Max's backstory with another prequel film, depending on how Furiosa performs at the box office. Furiosa: A Mad Max Saga premiered at the 77th Cannes Film Festival on May 15, 2024, and hit theaters in Australia on May 23rd, with a US release the next day. Despite receiving positive reviews from critics, the film struggled at the box office, earning only $172.8 million against its $168 million budget. With Furiosa underperforming at the box office, the idea of prequels seems less likely, though a sequel might still be possible. George Miller's plans for a Mad Max Fury Road sequel, Mad Max: The Wasteland, were in place before the prequels emerged, but there haven't been any new updates on the sequel recently. Instead, more prequels continue to surface. Miller had initially moved on from the Mad Max franchise after Fury Road, directing 3,000 Years of Longing. Additionally, he faced a legal battle with Warner Brothers, whom he claimed owed him significant earnings for his work. This lawsuit, filed in 2017 and resolved in 2019, delayed his focus on Furiosa. Miller had sketched out the stories for both the Furiosa and Mad Max: The Wasteland projects while working on Fury Road. It makes sense, therefore, that he's prioritizing these prequels before diving into the sequel, as the Wasteland story is still in development. To be honest, the Mad Max franchise needs a sequel to Fury Road, not more prequels. Adding too many prequels might strip away the mystique around Max and Furiosa. Mad Max Fury Road didn't dive deep into their backstories, but it did drop enough hints to let viewers imagine what made them who they are. Because of this, fans already know some key details about their pasts. More prequels might not add anything new or exciting to their stories, and could end up just filling in gaps that we've already speculated about. While prequels can be interesting, too many of them might end up over-explaining Max and Furiosa's backgrounds and reducing the intrigue that Fury Road built up. A sequel to Fury Road could inject fresh excitement into the franchise by exploring new and unexpected directions. Instead of getting bogged down in the past, it would be great to see the story push forward and bring new adventures to the screen. Let's hope the franchise shifts focus to what comes next, rather than just what happened before. The sequel to one of the most celebrated sci-fi films of the past 2 decades just hit a snag, according to Tom Hardy. In a recent Forbes interview, while promoting his new film, The Bike Riders, Hardy was asked about the status of George Miller's Mad Max franchise. Despite the excitement surrounding a potential sequel to Mad Max Fury Road, a film praised by critics and fans, boasting a near-perfect 97% rating from reviewers and an 86% from fans on Rotten Tomatoes, Hardy's update was less than encouraging. He simply said, "I don't think that's happening." Several factors might be contributing to the delay of a sequel. On-set tensions between Hardy and Charlize Theron during Fury Road could be one reason, as well as the possibility that Miller, who has directed every Mad Max film since 1979, may still be wrestling with the right idea for the sequel. Miller is known for his meticulous approach, and he might be unwilling to hand over the reins to another director. Additionally, the box office performance of the Mad Max prequel Furiosa could be influencing decisions about future projects. Despite starring Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth, Furiosa has struggled financially. For a film with such high expectations, this performance might be prompting Warner Bros. Discovery to reconsider any further Mad Max ventures, including a sequel. If Furiosa had been a major hit, the outlook for a Mad Max sequel might have been much more optimistic. Some of you might not know, but Tom Hardy's rocky experience making Fury Road has made a return to the Mad Max franchise seem unlikely. Reports suggest that Hardy had multiple clashes with both director George Miller and co-star Charlize Theron during production. Despite some apologies afterward, these conflicts, rooted in differing styles, have left a lingering impact. Miller even hinted at the possibility of recasting if Max were to return, which suggests that another prequel might be on the horizon sooner than expected. If Hardy does step away from the franchise, Miller might pivot Mad Max The Wasteland into a prequel series that could overlap with Taylor-Joy's Furiosa. Although Max and Furiosa didn't interact before Fury Road, there's potential to weave their stories together in a single film. Miller could also bring back Charlize Theron for a new project that serves as a sequel to both Fury Road and Furiosa. Given that Taylor-Joy was only featured in part of Furiosa, it would be interesting to see more of her character's development. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. What do you think about the future of the Mad Max franchise? Should they focus on more prequels or push ahead with a sequel? Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below.